Yes, my name is Grace McNasser, and I entered Old Main as a nursing student in the year 1957, along with 17 other freshmen. And those were wonderful days as far as we were all concerned. We ended up with a class of 13 people graduating. We had one male student in our class. I remember we wore blue and white striped uniforms with white aprons and caps, which the patients laundered and prepared for us every week, so they were nice and starched. We had blue wool capes that we wore in the winter, and the only other article that we could wear was like a navy blue sweater over our uniforms. And our stockings were white. We had white polished shoes at all times, which were inspected by our house mother and our director of nursing in the School of Nursing. Our classes, our class of 13 had a lot of experiences. Our first year we spent at Utica College, and the professors were wonderful to us. I remember we had some of the students in our class had a trouble with microbiology, and the professor would come in on Saturdays to help us, or to help the people who were having trouble pass that course. We had a wonderful nursing instructor, Betty Guilfoyle, who we continue to this day to call upon and visit. And she really imparted so many wonderful traits with us, especially empathy for the patients and trying to consider everybody an individual, or making us consider everybody an individual with and treating them with the utmost respect. Our graduating class last year celebrated their 50th class reunion, and we did a tour of Old Main Building, and we had so many wonderful memories of that time. I've taken the liberty to include some of those experiences with our talk today. So, Dixhurst was our house on campus, and it was the building on the extreme right as you entered from Court Street. There were 3 floors. We had a house mother who was responsible for making sure that we were in on time. We had a curfew of 10 o'clock at night. She also made sure that when we came in and left, we were appropriately dressed and that we were not drinking too much. All of those behaviors were reported to the head of the School of Nursing if anybody was found to be, not cooperating with all the rules. She bed checked us every night at 10 o'clock, lights out. We had to be in by 11 on weekends and 10 o'clock on weekdays. Some of us remember studying in the closet after bedtime hours because during study hours we were sleeping. So we had a lot of fun. Some of the gals went out the window and onto the fire escape to go drinking, or have a drink or two, I shouldn't say drinking. We played a lot of tricks on each other. We put skeletons in beds. I remember taping the doorway of one of the classmates' rooms. We rearranged furniture, took furniture out of the rooms. We set alarm clocks for the seniors to get up an hour early, and did have luck with that. So we had a lot of fun. And some of our memories of Old Main included being kind of scared to go through the hallways and the twisty rooms in Old Main. It was so crowded. Patients' dormitories were very crowded with beds close together, hallways filled with patients during the daytime for medications. We all remembered people lining up for everything, lining up to go to breakfast in the morning, lining up for showers, and the showers were really kind of devastating to all of us because the patients were expected to strip and then get in the line to get into the shower, and it was just like an assembly line. People were, if they couldn't wash themselves, they were escorted in, and there was somebody assigned to washing, and there were big hoses where people were hosed down, and it was really quite an experience to witness this kind of treatment because, as we know, treatment has certainly changed over the years. Some of us remember the holiday parties that everybody had for the patients. We remember the talent shows where the patients performed and were very proud of their abilities to sing. We also remember patients being admitted and staying for, some of them, the duration of their lives. Women especially experiencing admission maybe after pregnancy, postpartum depression, and then finding it very hard to leave. I recall many stories of women who were admitted for minor infractions according to their husbands, and it was easy to have them admitted, especially if you were an upstanding member of the community. So our population continued to grow, and wings on Old Main Building were added. They were filled with patients at one time. Some of the other buildings on the grounds were our grounds department. We had a laundry, we had a wood shop, a dining hall, we had a place where laundry was done and material was sewed into sheets. There were all kinds of activities that were geared toward work, because at that time work was thought to be the best treatment of all for recovery from mental illness.
Were they still making shoes at Old Main when you
Yes,
were there?
they were making shoes, boots, and some of the work was quite good because so many people developed and came in with some talents, you know, as well, and that's where they worked in those days.
And did they make clothing for
They made
patients?
clothing, yes, all the clothing. They knitted. There was a lot of knitting done. Farming was done there, canning. They roasted coffee beans. We had a huge bakery where all the baked goods were made. And we especially remember the Cornell formula for bread, and it was awful. None of us liked it, but that's what we were served. And we did have all of our meals in an employee's dining room that was up a steep set of stairs, I remember, and the food was not too good, but there was plenty of it.
What floor was it on?
It wasn't in, it was a separate part of Old Main.
Okay.
Yes, you had to go out of the building and up a flight of stairs to get to this, and it was an annexation of one of the buildings. Yeah.
Was bindery work still going on and book printing when you were there?
I don't recall that. I really don't know if that happened. Although we did have that's right, we had a print shop, and that print shop was in use until, oh my gosh, until I bet the late 1980s or so, maybe even into the 90s. And it was used by the other state facilities as well.
So there was activity in the building after it closed for patient use, is that correct?
Yes, to a certain degree, right.
Okay.
Yes.
And why did farming, for instance, suffer discontinuation?
I think because at there were a lot of reasons for that. Medications came into use in the 1950s, and patients were not able to be just sent to work without being paid. That was a huge change in the culture of state facilities all over the state. So you had to pay people to work. The medications also allowed different modalities of treatment to be initiated, and that was really a big deterrent as far as the farming and all the other kinds of work activities that were held at the hospital.
Do you have any sense of how the patients responded to being required to work?
They took it as normal. That was like what they were expected to do, especially in the early years. And that only changed after the 50s into the 60s. It really, they felt very good about the work that they produced too. They were very proud of anything they knitted or the wood they made or the lamps. I mean, people were very proud of the work, I have to say.